I'll get it. We're at the Arlen Cemetery at the corner of 7th and something. Across the road is the Lutheran church. One time there were two churches, an old Lutheran church and over there a Baptist church. It's called the Independent Cemetery, neither Baptist nor Lutheran. Got the flags out. This cemetery has great-grandpa Charles Hanson and his wife Anna Beebe, her parents Lathrop and Abigail, Lathrop Watson Beebe and Abigail Beebe, and where Scott is going is great-grandpa Charles Hanson's brother Adolph Frederick Hanson. They have a tank here so you can dip up some water, and a faucet that probably comes from the church. That pot looks pretty good yet, so we aren't going to replace it. So he's taking the old dirt in there.
Yeah, this one's good for another year.
The pot doesn't look too bad.
Yeah.
And putting in some dwarf marigolds. The Magdalena is here, and Adolph Frederick. And then this one is, oh, I can't read it. Charlie. That's their son, Charles. He was a World War veteran. I believe he got killed in a car accident or something.
Little sticker on it. That's all those newer ones say E85. Yeah, that's what I figured. That ethanol stuff stinks. Yeah.
The other graves are over across the cemetery in the oldest part of the cemetery. Where Scott is Lathrop W. Beebe, born February 23rd, 1822, died June 21, 1886, sweetly sleeping and in a Civil War marker. And then we put this stone in, his wife, Abigail E. Beebe. That pot looks okay. But we must have took the one out of here then, huh? For Hanson. So I'll go up and get our... This stone says Hanson with some decorations. Charles M. 1849 to 1907. And Anna M. 1855 to 1935. So we're going to put in a new pot here. First he's making a hole. Goes in pretty easy. We hit a vault or a concrete?
Yeah.
rock. I put it a little too close to the place. That looks like it's stopping too.
Nope, that's it.
Something down there. It's all right to let you hear. Let's try the other end of this stone maybe. How about go over on this side? See, they could have put the stone on top of the vault. Although I don't suppose they used a vault those days. But that pipe we don't care about saving, so you can pound right on the pipe if you want to. Doesn't go down very good, does it? Take the other end. Yeah. There. It's a little bit leaning to the north. Yeah, like that. Yeah, that should be pretty good. Now we probably should have threaded that on before we put it in, just because it's going to be a pain to thread it. Oh, not too bad. Okay. We got dirt in it, so or some dirt in it, enough to. This was a 4-grave lot. One's empty. Charles and Anna, and then a son that died as a baby, Robert, is buried there, and then one empty. And then they did own 2 lots here, but I believe Clint Hanson sold the others or somehow, and so up here is Lathrop Beebe's, which just has 2, and the rest of those got sold, I think, too. This is the maybe the oldest original grave in the cemetery, although across the here is a replacement stone, or maybe a newer one, but it's Mosaic, also a Civil War veteran, and it says 1885, whereas Lathrop's 1886. So probably it could be, of the marked stones, this might be the first one. This was probably the driveway in to the cemetery, and the original entrance to the cemetery, original. Used to be, 20 years ago, up there lived a guy named Nelson, maybe, and he was the cemetery sexton when I was down here trying to figure out who was buried where. Some slow release fertilizer. Put in Dwarf marigolds, get the deer leave them alone, and they do drought. So you can leave them. We'll walk around the cemetery just a little bit. Some places the flowers have been left here to grow. These are some peonies and some lilies. Quite a few flags. Broughton. 93. Moen. Sigerson. It's interesting because some stones are facing this direction and some, like over there, are facing the other direction. Normally in a cemetery, a religious cemetery, which this isn't, the gravestones face is to the east, and the person is buried laying with their head to the west, so they'll raise when Christ returns in the east. At least I read that. These are old maple syrup pails. They lived in Maple Grove Township, and so by putting a maple sap bucket pail, we're sort of recognizing their years of making maple syrup. Lathrop Beebe and his wife came here in 1864, and in about 1872, something like that, 1871 or 72, Charles Hanson married their daughter, Anna. We're driving back into the Adolf Frederick Hanson home at down by by Arlen, by the cemetery. All that's left of the original farm, I think, is still the silo that's there yet. The driveway down to the right that went down in there, yeah. Or this is it probably, huh? Let's just go up there and see. I think this is a different driveway than it used to be. Oh, maybe not. In from the right. So what I wanted to see is if the silo is still in there in the trees.
Yeah, it's back there.
Oh yeah, they had built a roof over it in a place, but I don't look like anybody. Oh, there's a house behind, I guess. Anyway, we'll get out of here before we get booted. That ash tree looked like it had that ash disease. We're at the Maple Grove Baptist Cemetery, right next to a huge dairy farm that's quite fragrant. This is where the relatives, the Norwegians from Vikna, Norway, are buried. A lot of the other folks in here are from the same area, northern, on the coast of Norway, maybe midway up to the north, out on some islands in the, like Rarvik and somewhere in that area, but they were out on the edges of it. So in here is Cornelius's and Sunsmo's and Paulson's. Look at all the white flowers. So we took up both of them here. What were these graves over here, Conrad, but those are Churchill relatives. These are Paulson, our relatives. Anna, grandmother Göring, and Olson, Johanna, and John Paulson, and others. See, we got to cut some trees out again. Then over there is Dina and Andrew. Dina was a Paulson, married Andrew Peterson. We're surrounded by a large dairy. Across the road, the young stock are all headed over to the pond to get a drink. Right across the road over here was the Baptist church, and this was the cemetery that went with it. That's where Andrew and Dina and the Paulsons went to church. There's a stone that's falling apart. This is the stuff. I cut out some of the trees growing up in here. I think what we need to do is...
This is where we headed, right? Just want to make sure.
So we're in Maple Grove Township here, and the Paulsons and the Hansons made maple syrup here. We're replacing the old plastic buckets with our modern 75-year-old maple syrup pails. I'll go over here to where Andrew and Dina are. Yeah, right over there is where the church stood. Peterson, Andrew and Dina. Andrew died 1883 to 1969. Andrew came over from Norway in about 1912 when he was a young man. I think part of his intention was to stay out of the European wars, because the Norwegians and the Swedes sometimes they got rented out and sent to fight in the countries where it had nothing involved with them. The Conrads. Okay. The Paulsons here. Behind them is a row of graves that really don't have any more markers. Okay. This is great-grandpa John and his wife Oleana. But over here is Dorothy Hanson. She was a Kirchner. She died in '34 when her son Marley Hanson was born. He lived, but she died. And in here also, and they're not marked. There, maybe there's a stone there, but are a baby of Alvin Hanson, a baby of Gladys Hanson and a Bellin baby. Morse Hanson married a Myrtle Bellin, and a baby from that family is buried here. In the cemetery records it shows them, but there's no real markers here, and the marker for Dorothy is just a little metal one with rubber things. I've been intending to buy a stone that lists all of them and put it here. We had plastic buckets here before, and they probably for about 10, 12, 15 years maybe, and they eventually rotted out, so we're trying the maple syrup buckets now. Just over to the ahead, over that direction to the east, is where the old railroad went through up to Barron. Went through Grandpa Pearl's land, just down through there, and followed up Quarter Mile Creek, sort of the bed there. It says snowmobile trail crossing, so maybe they've turned it back into a snowmobile trail. The lilies take over. In the middle of the lilies is a peony bush in each of these. I don't really see too much new burials here. Now that one looks like it could have been recent. 2013. H. Raymond Young. Frida Conrad, 1903 to 1917. Scott is down trying the pump out to see if we're going to get some water. Last year it worked. There it goes. We'll go down, and that's kind of neat to have the old hand pump and well here. I think maybe I should pump and you can...
That would help.
Oh, all right. At the schoolyard in Wolf Creek, we had a pump like this and a hand pump, so when we needed water, we could go out. You can see the water hasn't been pumped very much because it's rusty. So now when you leave a pump like this, you can leave the plunger down and the handle up, or like this. I can't remember. Seems like I'm supposed to leave it like that, but I don't know. There's a new grave, Barton, 2018 and 15. 2002. And there is the, somebody had a birdhouse that looks like it fell down. Louise and Roy Olson, they were some kind of cousins of Dina and that. That Hanson there isn't related to us. That's a H-A-N-S-E-N. This Olson might be. Lots of little flowers. I trimmed out some of the trees growing up into this cedar. We're at the New Life Scandinavian Lutheran Church Cemetery. The guy's out mowing and trimming today and really looking down good. This is where Mom's family, the Lystes and the Bakkens and those come. So here is one of her uncles, Robert Lyste, and his wife, Halbert.
These flowers did really well last year. Look at all the
seed heads. That's from, that pot looks okay, doesn't it?
Yeah.
This is my grandpa, Tom Lyste, who died in 1930 at 50 years old. Never knew him. And then behind it is probably his grandparents. Down there is the church. It burned down and they built a new one not so long ago. This is cut down tight. Osahagen, one of the aunts and uncles that we used to go visit was, I think it was Anton and Inga Osahagen. And I think Inga must have been the Lyste. Mom would talk about, well, there's Grandma Bakken, Norbert Bakken, and Margaret. That wouldn't be her grandparents, that'd be more like cousins. There wasn't a stone here, and so I put it in, and I spelled it wrong. These spell it I-E, and some spell it L-Y-S-T-E and L-Y-S-T-I-E, and it turned out that the Thomas used the T-E, but they varied it quite a bit, so it didn't matter too much. Chopper wagon going by. Somebody's green chopping already. Pick up last year's vine, which looks pretty good. The peonies on, it says "Tak for alt," for alt. It's thanks for everything, I think. Ingeborg and Thomas Lyste. That's probably great grandpa Lyste. Broken off, and Paulson. Mom had relations of Johnsons, and Nelson, her mother was a Nelson, and her great-grandfather was from Denmark, and Peter, that might be him, Peter Olsen. I'll have to look that up. I don't know. He's probably buried here, to tell the truth. See, these are some of these cemeteries. There's a 7 right there, I think, on this marker. Or a T or something. Some of the stones get quite a bit of lichens on them. This is the last cemetery, the Otterholm Cemetery. On the sign it said, organized 1882, objects that get in the way of mowing will be removed. These really highly decorated graves over here, I think, are the ones we're aiming at. This post with that bent pot is my grandma, Clarice Nelson Lyste Burns. This is her son Lawrence, and this is Lawrence's wife, Angeline, died in 2010. And this is one of the kids, Sherry, and her husband Douglas died, Nelson. And let's see, I guess that's the ones that are relatives of ours. One of the Lawrence's daughters passed away too, my cousin, but I can't remember who that was. Our pot is a little tall and is leaning, but it looks okay for another year. Lawrence is a World War II veteran. He had gotten injured during the war, fell off a tank is what they said, and wrecked his back somewhat, and he had an awful time. Sometimes he could work and sometimes he had trouble with it, and never really got healthy from it. There's quite a bit of empty space on here. Nicely mowed up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, maybe 20 veterans flags in here. Cemeteries. This is a huge white pine here. The edges of cemeteries are where the lilies and things get to grow out into the edge of the woods like it is here, where people throw or dig out things or they spread. That is a huge white pine there. I took my tape measure and measured around that. It's 11 feet circumference, which would mean, 3 feet diameter. That's pretty big. A few trilliums back in the woods here at Otterholm. Something coming by, farm machinery probably. No, that's fertilizer spreader.